Joel Coops, welcome to the Flats, lads.
Nice to be here. Welcome, Coops.
Thanks for having us, man.
Do you want to welcome me too?
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah,
Joel.
thank you.
How are you?
Yeah, thanks for popping in. I know you guys weren't meant to be here today, I believe.
Yeah, today was actually scheduled to be the first show of our tour, which we've kind of semi-forgotten about. We've semi-postponed. Not semi, we have postponed it. We're not in Sydney playing tonight, but tonight was the first show of our tour. Who earns?
I had my first run through today. It was almost like playing a show.
I didn't even do that. So like practice, pretended you're on stage, had a bit of a rock out.
Because you're out of practice, you need that.
I'm out of practice of the song. I've been playing plenty of guitar, just not of the set.
That's why the door was closed.
That's why the door was closed.
Rocking out.
No, it wasn't quite like that.
But alas, we are here, still in Canberra.
Yeah.
Safe.
And not recording any jingles by the sound of it.
Currently not recording any jingles. We've just been talking about jingles, just listening to the great little theme song for the Mustard Flats, and
it was very good.
Yeah, it was very good.
We come alive in that intro too.
We were very pumped on that, so we're like, oh, we should
shout out to Jimmy Pike for the beats.
Yeah, shout out to Jimmy Pike. Yeah, we were like, well, some jingles would be fun because we were saying it's one section where it's a lot easier than 3 or 4 sections of a song.
Yeah. Right, one section, it's the first thing that happens when you write a song, and then you're done. Yeah. Assuming it's catchy.
But still here we are, never having written a jingle. No jingle success ever. But maybe 2021's a year that jingles come into our life.
Yeah.
Whether that's writing them or listening to them. Probably the latter, but that's cool too.
And so I'm doing a bit of research for this. You'd think it'd be a quiet year for a band, a stadium touring band, touring around the world. But in fact, you guys have been quite busy doing a fair bit of stuff. What was 2020 like for you guys?
Look, I guess we did get pretty lucky in a sense that we had, I think I looked at it the other day, we had around 70 shows tentatively booked for last year, and we did 2. We did 2 shows and 2 live streams, so 70 down to 4. But yeah, I guess on the other side of things, we were relatively fortunate that we recorded an EP, back end of 2019. So we kind of had a year to roll out this EP, and yeah, through that we were able to do a Leica version. We were able to get a bit of success with some sports, which was nice. Having some theme songs for the finals, and what else happened, Coops?
That's about it.
Coops wasn't paying attention.
No, I was paying
Coops was actually in quarantine and stuck in America for most of the year.
Yeah,
so
I got back in August, but I got back in time for the footy stuff, which was probably the best of the year, I feel.
Yeah.
Here we are, some Fox footy.
How did this all come about?
Boys.
This is huge.
Yeah, we had a bit of I guess just as some of the songs started coming out, we had our brilliant manager kind of do a bit of negotiating and kind of came back to us and was like, hey, I might have an opportunity to do some to do a theme song for the finals. And originally it was going to be for NRL. And so we kind of, obviously we're all pretty excited about it. None of us were huge NRL fans apart from our big rig drummer, Parky. He's a big Raiders. I mean, we're all Raiders fans.
Pegs is pretty into Newcastle Knights.
Yeah, so it was a big, we were very excited about it. And as it started coming...
Broncos, sorry.
Yeah. The Broncos. Yeah.
In Newcastle.
As it started coming together, we were, there was obviously a lot of travel restrictions and different ways in which we were able to go and do it, but kind of as it all came together, we were offered the AFL song as well. So we actually ended up shooting both of them on the same day in Newcastle at the McDonald Jones Stadium, I believe it was. And so it was actually quite fun because it was almost like a gig for us. Like it was kind of, we got in the van. We didn't get in the van. It sounds cooler, but we got in our cars and drove to Newcastle. And filmed both of these shoots, and the AFL one was outside with a lot of lights, and had our lighting guy Phil Goodwin come up with us, which was a lot of fun. And then kind of got to hang around with a couple of footy players who didn't really know who we were, didn't really care, but we gave them a few head nods and a few rock horns, and they were like, what are you guys all doing here?
Sorry.
But I think there were some footy legends and heroes, and I think my dad was pretty excited about it. He's a big West Tigers fan, so notch that up as a win.
Yeah, that's huge. And also we got the Hands Like Houses jersey released. The throwback Raiders jersey.
The throwback Raiders jersey. It was, we all got a bit into it. We didn't have a whole lot going on through the year, as you can imagine, and I guess as soon as these kind of sports codes came up, we kind of committed ourselves to being full sports dudes. So we thought, let's make a sports jersey, and we couldn't go any further than the beloved Canberra Raiders. So we looked back to, I think it was one of the years they won, 89, also a year a lot of us were born. And yeah, got a jersey recreated. So we haven't been hit up yet for copyright issues. So
thanks, Raiders.
Thanks for the Raiders thanks for the Raiders for letting that one slip.
Video Easy are fucking they're done.
Video Easy ain't coming after us. So yeah, that was a good win. It's nice to have a sports jersey. I think a few people have got around them. A few people think that they're Raiders jerseys, so I think it kind of works. So.
Are we sold out? We're sold out.
Yeah.
If you want one, maybe try and get it.
Yeah, we can maybe get. We've got heaps now.
Make you one. Green skivvy, white paint.
We'll get the next one with the Canberra Milk theme song, the Canberra Milk jersey coming out.
Canberra Milk Kid. Yeah.
So has it been good spending time back in Canberra? A bit more?
Yeah.
Perhaps than normal?
It's I guess this whole year's been very different for me, I guess, from my experience in Canberra. For the last 5-6 years, Coops has been living over in the States. We'd kind of been doing so much touring that we never really had a whole lot of time here in Canberra. So this year's been very different. Moving into a house, both of us are living in a house kind of in the inner north, and I guess we never really explored this whole world of living in the inner north and taking advantage of going up the mountain and going around the lake and using bikes and not really needing to use cars. And I think it's just meant that we've been able to kind of settle into a pretty comfy life in Canberra that's like a lot easier than being in the suburbs. And I guess I didn't really have that before this year, so I really enjoyed it. And it's hard to think of, as much as I love Charnwood, it's hard to think of going back down to Charnwood. So
it is a different life in this part of Canberra than Charnie. We grew up around the corner from each other. I was in Flynn, and coming into the inner north has been a quite the shift and perspective change on Canberra. Yeah, in a positive way. Yeah, and
living together too. Is that new?
Yeah. Oh, I mean,
we've lived together. The whole band, or
No, just two of us and our respective partners, and a couple of other housemates. I guess it's kind of new, but it's also, I think we've every time we're on tour for 2 months, we're kind of living. We're just in a bit of a smaller space. This is a little bit bigger.
For 20 years almost, pretty much, just with gaps in between.
Yeah.
But now it is nice though. It's fun. We play games together.
It's fun. I sit around and Coops plays chess, and I sit there and call him a nerd.
That's pretty much every day.
I'm not smart enough to play chess.
And is there much music getting made in that house?
Yeah, there's a lot of music getting made in the house. I think it's nice that we have a setup that we can make music whenever we want. I don't know if I can say how much actual Hands Like Houses music has been made in that house, but a lot of music is getting made regardless, which I think is just nice to have regardless of what we're making. It's good to be playing and writing music and have the space, permanently available.
Yeah, and also now you've sort of tapped into the Canberra artists around, and I knew you did that retreat, the songwriting thing. Has that been cool too, to tap into that local sort of scene?
Well, I think that's been a lot of fun for me since I was here in Canberra, a lot, and knew that I was going to be here a lot. It was kind of a chance to meet a lot of new artists in Canberra and kind of hang out with a lot of artists, and it's been super fun, just I guess broadening that spectrum of, I guess, something that I'd never really been here for. I was always kind of aware of a lot of different artists around Canberra, but being here kind of, permanently for now, it's been really nice to just kind of meet a bunch of those artists and hang with those artists and get some inspiration from them and find out where they're going and what they're up to. And now we're kind of at the stage where we're making music with some of them, and just recently started doing some running with some artists, which has been very nice.
Yeah. Making the most of that inner north.
Yeah.
Location.
Yeah, because that's the thing is there is still a lot of people that are just around this inner north area, which makes it so much easier for people to kind of drop in and drop out and kind of come around at the drop of a hat, which is super nice.
Yeah, awesome. And the music ACT stuff comes into that too. I guess you've been brought on board for the programming side of things.
Yeah, that's been it's definitely been a bit of a blessing for me being able to come back and I guess through that, work a lot with MusicACT, who I didn't know a whole lot about before I kind of, jumped on board. But that's kind of opened up a lot of doors for just, touching base with a lot of artists here and figuring out kind of what people are doing and trying to help out where possible, and also just kind of hanging out where possible as well. So it's been super cool, I guess, learning more about the overarching themes of what MusicACT wants to do and how they're trying to help artists and how they're trying to help, I guess, the Canberra music scene as a whole with, with sound regulations and kind of more spot for music venues and a lot of things around town. It's made it nice to be in Canberra, but then also feel like kind of just slowly starting to touch base with a lot of people that I just haven't done kind of much over the last, 8-9 years that we've been touring, because we just never here long enough to kind of establish that. So yeah, it's been super nice. It's been very enjoyable.
Yeah. And Kerbs, you're normally overseas. Is that right?
Yeah, I've been back and forth over, I guess, the last 5 to 10 years almost now. But I met my now wife 6-7 years ago in the States, and we've kind of been mostly based over there, and then got back in August of this last year.
As you can tell by the deep accent that's stuck into
Howdy, y'all.
And got out just in time by the sound of it too.
I mean, it was a process. It's a long, boring story, but we started the process in sort of January, February to get back, and got back in August. So it was
was it right that you missed out or nearly missed out on the video shoot?
Nah. he definitely missed out.
Yeah, I was not here for it, but
you got a little sneak peek in there.
Yeah, got a mate in Texas to come over and shoot, and it took hours and hours, and I think I'm in the clip for about 2, maybe 3 seconds.
Yeah,
so it was really worth the hours.
We tried really hard here, and I think the problem was that we were really lucky with this film clip. We worked with some very old friends of ours from Canberra, Daybreak Films, and we had Reese Graham and Jensen Cope come down and shoot this with us, and we found this really beautiful location in Queanbeyan to shoot this video, and they've turned up with $60,000-$70,000 cameras and really high-tech gear and all this amazing footage. And then we've kind of asked Coops to just get a bit of footage through a window over in America, and we're like, how's this one going to work out? And we're trying to figure out how to obviously tie it together, and I think they had a bit of a harder time with it than obviously we did, because we just sat there and they filmed us, and it looked super schmick. But not saying Coops' footage doesn't look good,
I thought the footage looked great.
it was just a bit behind where we were at.
Yeah.
So
it was hard to orchestrate. It was Texas, it was COVID, it was everything was happening over there at that time.
Yeah, but at least he still got it in. Like there was a moment there where we didn't think he was going to make it into the film clip. So it's definitely a pretty good sign that he got in there. I can't wait to see it, because it's
yeah, we'll just hold off. Yeah.
He's coming up very soon.
It's just good that we kind of all look alike. So I kind of
we toyed with the idea for quite a while of like, let's just get someone else to do like a stunt double thing. We'll just bring someone that kind of which we have done before, like numerous times for shows and even some videos. But at the end of the day, we ended up
the stunt doubles.
Yeah.
Oi,
there he is. Yeah, see if it's in. We even had the overlay of the hotel that we had in Canberra. Of the
so that was done post.
Yeah.
The motel.
Yeah, it was done in the house that I was quarantining at with some dear friends.
Yeah, you could not tell.
Where is it?
And you got the neon sign in there too.
Yeah, the overlay of the neon sign, but just tied it all in. Like it's. Yeah, what a good win for us, I think. Pulling a film pulling a film clip off with film clop off. Yeah, it was really nice.
Jensen and Reese are amazing.
Yeah, I think for this video especially, it was really nice for us to, work with people that were not only friends, but people that we really liked, their cinematography and the way that they kind of made their videos. And I think it was quite a different style of video to what we've ever done before, which was, I think, what we all really enjoyed about it. It didn't have the same kind of feel to most of our videos. So, there he is on the TV.
Good way to get past that. Is push
put him on a TV and put some filters over it.
Very well done. Smart.
And filming in Queanbeyan too.
Yeah, well, so we went through this process. We, the concept we were trying to find, the hotel to fit in with the storyline, and we had about 2 or 3 different places. And Jensen and Reese are actually living in Melbourne, and so they'd said, we've got a couple of options. And the first option we had was this, the hotel. It's in Lynham, across from that big field.
It's a classic one.
Yeah. And so they called up.
I've heard that they're notorious for.
They're not keen at all. Keen. And it's a funny thing because I don't know. I had this weird kind of confidence because they told me, they were like, look, they just don't want to do it. And I was like, you know what? Just let me go in. And so I drove over there and I pulled up and I was like, can I talk to the manager? Super polite. And I started explaining, and as soon as I was like, look, would like to shoot a video here. I think before I even finished the sentence, this old lady looked at me and she was like, absolutely not. And I was like, well, I haven't finished yet. And then I started trying to tease it out. And after a while, she was like, look, we had artists come in one day and they trashed the whole hotel, so we're just not going to do that again. And I was like, yeah, but look, we're not going to do that. We're not 18-year-old kids trying to get drunk in your car park. We just want to shoot a nice looking video and we'd love to use your hotel. This works for you too, And she was like, look, my stepdad owns this and he's not going to accept it. And I was like, well, can I talk to him? And then she was like, absolutely not. I was like,
good on you for pushing it.
And I tried, and then I got to the point where I was like, you know what? Have a good day. I'm out of here.
Start our own hotel.
But we ended up stumbling across. Now I've blanked on the name of the hotel we used, but it was really beautiful out in Queanbeyan. The Olympia Hotel in Queanbeyan. That was it. It was actually it was really beautiful. It was nice getting out of bit of interstate travel to shoot a music video. Kind of was another exciting factor of the year because we couldn't tour. We were like, we're going interstate, boys.
The boys are back.
Couple of days of shooting music videos. Yeah, it's great.
Did you actually stay the night? That's the question.
None of us actually stayed. They stayed in the rooms, but everyone got to the end and was like, Reese and Jensen stayed in the rooms. We got to the end and we were like, we're just going to go home.
May as well
we'll just go home. It's about 10, 15 minutes from here. So we didn't stay there. We didn't take advantage of the hotel. We didn't trash the hotel, but
should
have.
I trashed their house I was doing it in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was rock and roll.
You can trash your own house now.
Yeah.
Now, another video I want to talk about is one that, it's going to sound weird, but semi-inspired me, and I thought, damn, these videos getting made in Canberra are stepping up, and it was the classic.
It's good. This is a good clip.
This is such a good clip.
2008,
7th of February 2008 release date.
It's amazing.
So this
shout out to Brad.
Yeah, shout out to Brad Janes. What's up? At this stage we had only, I guess, 3 of our current members. This was, I guess, the band previous to, I guess, what Hands Like Houses turned into. But we had Matty P, Coops and I in this, and I think we were...
Jamal.
Yeah, we got to this
Jamal
point.
Was in hands.
Yeah, we got to this point where we had... we'd gone up to Sydney, we'd saved all our money, and we'd gone up to, the coolest studio in Sydney to record, and we had these cool synth lines, and we were like, we've really done it here, the best recording we'd ever had. And I think we were quite lucky at the time that Coops' brother was, I don't know if he was in college or at uni, but was doing maybe a CIT or doing some kind of video course, and they had access to make some videos at UC. And they were like, hey, we kind of want to do this. And at the time we were like, this is great. And we were at the time we were actually at Copen College, and so we took all our instruments into the art room at Copen College, and we painted them all white, and I think we painted a keyboard white.
Yeah.
And
sacrificial.
We
keyboard.
full went for it.
Instruments, yeah.
We full went for it, and
put this thing in again. I've seen movies with worse CGI than that.
yeah, and you know,
Hollywood movies.
It turned out great. Like
yeah.
shout out to Josh
I was
and
like, how'd they
Chris.
do this? Like, this is like
We were wondering that too. Like, you know, Brad was chained up at the end of the video, and we pulled a head out. Like,
and the set design and the. You know,
it's almost like how do you do that? That's just a floating head singing. Like 2008, you couldn't do that back then. You know, like
no phones around then. Like,
and it's
A few years after the internet.
This is quite inspiring, actually. I'm thinking we should maybe go and recreate. We could recreate this video for our next song.
totally.
Taking his body was just cut into pieces, sitting on the shelves, and we've just started putting him back together.
This the next bit with the body, the torso to the head connection is
just connecting the body pieces.
Shot.
How good's that?
Good.
So what was this sort of time like in setting up what Housos ended up becoming?
I mean, we were in grade 12 in this.
Yeah, I think this was, I guess, a time for us where we'd hit grade 12, and I think we'd just figured out that if we went and recorded music with someone that knew what they were doing, it'd sound a lot better than if we just went to like a friend or we were trying to do something ourselves. So I guess that was a bit of a breakthrough in going, this is kind of what we're capable of, which I think led to playing more. How about that? Amazing. Like, spot on. Which I guess led to us starting to play more shows, but then also I think in turn led to us wanting to record more music and exploring how we could record more music. And I think that's where the place that we recorded this song, and I think we did another song at the time that I don't actually know if we released, but we kind of went from that to looking to see if we could do a full EP there, but we didn't actually. We explored a few options overseas, and it was actually cheaper for us to go and record the same 6 songs overseas in Orlando than it was for us to go to this studio in Sydney and do it.
And that was 6 of us.
6 people flying, staying, and recording.
6 weeks.
Really?
And then fly back. Then it was to go just to Sydney to record the same 6 songs. And at a time when it was just like, I mean, like studios in America were ubiquitous, but here they were like, you know, a few scattered around and they charge top dollar type of thing.
Yeah, and I think it's like, you know, there's never like a point in, I think, a band's career that's really, really pivotal. That probably was like such a massive point for us. Like, I don't think if we recorded that same 6 songs in Sydney, I think there would have been a very different outcome. Just because we were like, we can go to America and record this with this producer that we liked, that's kind of the moment where all the doors started opening, and we got approached by some management, and they helped us get some label support, and that kind of started this whole process of what this was. And I think if we didn't go overseas at that time, it would have been a very different path. It would have been a very different story if we hadn't left the country. And I know it meant that we kind of ended up essentially relocating to America for a long time, but it's probably the only reason that we were able to start and build such a kind of big and long career, I believe.
Yeah. So because a lot of people would, I don't know, but did people assume you were a US band?
We had a bit of that.
Yeah, there was a fair bit of that when we'd first started coming back to America, because we went over to America, we recorded our music over there, but then we started touring over there. So, we were doing 3 or 4 tours a year in America before we could even do a proper tour here in Australia. So I think we spent, probably the better part of 2 years doing 3 or 4 tours a year before we even came back and tried to even do a proper tour here.
That was piggybacking on other bands tours. Like, yeah. I think right? I don't think we did a headline for a while. It was just in between shows, between tours.
Yeah, but our record label at the time brought us over for our first tour, and it was they called it the freshman class tour or something, and it was 4 of their new signing bands, all of whom had virtually no fans, and we were the first band out of the 4, and that was our first tour over in America, and we're playing to, I don't know, I'm going to say an average of 8 to 10 people a night. And
I still remember that Roswell show. A free show in Roswell, and one person came to the show, and
I think it was about a 1,000 cap like theatre. Like it was huge. It was huge. Like we were like, this is the sickest venue. And it's a free show, and yet one dude came. But those are the times that I think things were so different for us in the touring sense, because all we were doing is, like, for us, that was it. We'd made it. We were in America, we were touring, we were sleeping in Walmart car parks every night. We were living off $2 a day and eating peanut butter wraps more often than not.
Uncooked pasta sandwich
Uncooked
bags.
pasta.
It was a time. It was a time. And I went for about 4 or 5 years, and then about 4 or 5 years ago, everything sort of started to change a bit in terms of, I mean, actually, those sort of tours only lasted 2, maybe 3 years. And then we got pretty lucky being the Aussie band that was over there in the realm of music we were in. So landed some really nice sort of support tours, and sort of piggybacked a lot off that.
Yeah, I think we were kind of lucky in some of these early days where I think because like we thought we had done it, we were just so pumped every night to play. Even if there was one dude there watching us, we were like, it doesn't matter. We're playing in Roswell, or we're playing in, the middle of Arizona somewhere. And I think because we were so stoked, like we were also happy to talk to other bands and anyone that was at the show. And I think through those first, early tours, would randomly end up meeting other bands, and they would just be like, oh, those guys were fun, like we'll take them on tour. And I think it kind of created this effect where we were having so much fun with all the bands that we were with, that I think we got a few of those early tours because people just enjoyed hanging out with these weird, crazy Australians that were just having fun playing music. And I think that helped us start building our own fan base and kind of, I guess, kick-started our career over there, which then translated back here eventually.
Yeah. And what do you, not to jump forward too far, but what do you think it was that was lacking in Australia at the time for those new bands?
Population. I mean, in comparison to America, you got cities there that have basically our country's population in it. And that was, so we were already on that train. So we were like, we've got to take this for as long as it goes for. And then over here, it was through that success that, the perspective of the rock scene people here that listen to this sort of music saw us and then saw that success and then started coming to our shows, and we eventually came back.
Yeah. And I think another part of that was that, not that there is a different understanding of it in Australia, but, we literally for 9 months a year, for 2 to 3 years straight, we were just hustling and touring relentlessly and, playing to, like I said, to 8 people, to 100 people, to building up is I think we just spent a lot of hard work and time building something in America. And I think in Australia, there's sometimes the difference of opinion of having a song that just can, blow you up and you're ready to go on tour and kind of be successful. But there is still a big element of it is that you have to build up a live show. You have to build up a following through that live show that people want to come and watch you. So I think we kind of, at the time, we weren't deliberately being this is how we're going to do it. We were just we took every opportunity we got. If we got any offer, we're like, yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, we'll do that. And kind of in the in-betweens, we were sleeping in a van and living in a van in a car park kind of outside our management's office, and that's how we got it done.
Yeah, crazy. And so was it just you were planning to go record this small album and it just kept continuing on we'll stay a bit longer,
Oh, no, we came back and when we initially, that first EP, we did an EP and then came back home, and then the EP got handed off to a couple of labels, and they were like, this is mad, and did the classic label thing where they said, oh, you should make it into an album off your dime. And we were like, oh, okay. So we came back and worked for another year. We were kind of still at uni, worked at the another version of that, so another 5 or 6 songs, and then flew back over there. Again, it was still cheaper than recording anyway over here. We went back to the same producer, put it all together, and then so it took like 2 years to do that first thing. And then that's when we sort of got signed to our first record contract, and it just, that's how it sort of started from that. And then they offered to buy the album off us, and then we signed it
for not very much.
Yeah, for not very much. And then
so we signed a really bad deal.
We were young and excited, and still wouldn't change a thing.
I think maybe a few. I don't know if this played a part in it, but when we'd first finished the album, like we'd been kind of advised to do, our management was like, we've got this offer from this label. And I think at the time, I can't even remember who the label was, but we were really excited about it. And I think for 3 or 4 months, they were like, yeah, we've nearly got everything ready. And we went 3 or 4 months in. And then one day they turned around, they were like, yeah, they don't want to do it. And we were like, shit, we thought we had it. And I think maybe like a month later, they were like, oh, we just got an offer from this label. And I think we were all just really excited that was an offer. Like it was like 56 pages, and we looked at it, and no one had any idea what we were doing. And we were like, let's all go to someone's house and we'll sign it. And we went there and signed it, and then
drank beers, and it was good.
Drank heaps of beers, and then I think we got 2 or 3 years in, and we were like, fuck, like that's a really bad deal. And then we started looking at it, and we were like, wow, we got fucked over pretty hard here. Like.
But it was everyone. It wasn't just us.
And it wasn't like we weren't the ones that just got chucked under the bus.
Sounds like it's such a common story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so many art industries.
And the record labels, I guess at that point in time as well, had a very specific monopoly in, they had the opportunity to break a band. The bands didn't really have the opportunity to break themselves. So it was kind of, the record labels could go, all right, we'll give you virtually 0%. We'll pay you a small amount of money to recoup the cost of you making that album. And if it goes well for them, they do really well. If it doesn't go well, they go, all right, we lost $5,000 or $10,000, and they just chuck it to the side and move on to the next band. And it's kind of just rinse and repeat through, filtering out all the stuff that takes off and the stuff that doesn't take off. So
it's so funny that what you said about the label not having to make the band, because there was such like prestige to certain labels or whatever. And
these labels just had these followings.
I don't think anyone looks at who a band signed to these days at all.
It's very different now. Like it's definitely not how it works. But back then, and like we can sit here and be like, fuck, we signed a shittest deal. But if we didn't sign that deal, we probably wouldn't have got to where we got to. So it's like we can look back and be like, well, it sucks because with that record label, we did sell a lot of albums and made that record label a lot of money. But at the same point, they gave us the opportunity that started our whole career. So we're still thankful, but still don't love that we signed a shithouse deal.
Yeah. And then how did it go to doing those 8-person shows to walk
6-person shows?
Yes.
It felt like 8.
Yeah. And, huge like this. Like,
it's pretty sick.
I think, this is, I think this was like, it's funny looking back at some of this, because this was very much like, the Warped Tour was very much a catalyst for us starting playing music. When we were in high school, we were sitting there watching DVDs of the Vans Warped Tour, and all our favorite bands were on the Warped Tour, and everything that we loved was like that Warped Tour world. So I still like clearly remember the day that we were actually on tour in America, and we were in our little kind of shitty bus that we built out, and we got a message from our managers saying, hey, you've got an offer to play Vans Warped Tour, and we just fucking lost it. And we were just like, we cannot believe this. And we were so like it was such I think it was such a big moment for us that we didn't even know, like, we had obviously pretty low expectations of even just playing music, but being over there and all of a sudden getting an opportunity to go play what was, our favorite tour, which had a lot of our favorite bands play it. It was pretty magical. And, we were lucky enough to do the Vans Warped Tour 3 times. And I still look back on those 3 times as probably my 3 favorite summers of all time, just because of the nature of this festival is just, it's like unheard of. Like, I don't think there's anything like this in the world. You're essentially traveling around the entire United States, playing 42 shows in about 47 days, and every day you're in a car park that looks exactly the same. Like you're usually in like a car park of a big football team stadium or something, and all the stages are truck stages. All the tents that are set up or all the merch tents look the same. Like everything has this same feel, but you wake up every day and you're in a different city. But, you know, you didn't really need money. You didn't really need anything. You kind of just had this little pass. And, you know, the rules were you had to obviously get to your show and play each day. Sometimes we would have a signing each day. And then you would walk around the rest of the day. You'd go and swipe and get food for your catering and just be on the bus by the time it leaves. And that was it for 2 months. Like, copy and paste, and it's so like
it was amazing. Yeah, it's so easy to be nostalgic, especially now, obviously. Yeah. But yeah, fuck yeah, such a good time.
It's just like even looking at this stuff now, it's crazy thinking back to like every single day we played for half an hour for 2 months in the summer in America. And we were just surrounded by other musicians and other bands and all these cool people. And, because there is so many people, like, yeah, there's the bands that we don't get along with, and there's kind of the egotistical bands that you kind of just like don't really want to hang out with those guys. But we just met so many cool people. And I think because there is like so many people on this touring party, you spend all your time with the people that you like being around, and you just end up having a great time. And like, it's a pretty good gig just playing for half an hour a day and just getting on a bus and someone drives you to the next space. And like,
is it like the cliche that you don't know where you are?
You never know where you are.
100%. Some of those Midwest states, man. No idea.
It was a very common thing on the tour for a lot of the singers. In the middle of the stage, where like the foldback speaker is that faces back at the singer, it would say the name of the city. And so like, because there's so many times where people would get up and be like, Minnesota, and people would be like, not Minnesota, and they'd be like, fuck. So many singers would have like the name printed out right in front of them, and I was like, oh, that is good, because it's happened to us before, but yeah, you are somewhere different every day. You get in this kind of trance for 2 months, and we had a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
And I couldn't find any footage of this, but I dug deep and found that you guys had not only done the AFL and the NRL, but done the WWE.
Yeah. That's not too deep.
Super Showdown. Yeah. No, not too deep, but I couldn't find the footage of it. But how did that come about?
That's
same manager.
Yeah, I think it was another thing through our manager that we've been working with for a few years now. He
shout out to Ben.
On your Bennis. He's got some good contacts and good friends that work, I guess, in more of that kind of commercial sync space and in some of the major labels. And it's funny, now that I'm halfway through the story, I've actually just realised that it was actually our radio Spotify picture in America from our old label. So I'm going to kind of restart this. Restart this story. Shout out to Bennis. Shout out to Bennis. But it was actually Josh who was working for Hopeless Records when we had signed with them, and he was working as he was kind of our radio man from the label, but he did a really, really good job for us on when we put out that album, where we got a lot of really good Spotify playlists and Apple Music playlists, and we had a lot of really nice covers, and the album kind of in that like streaming and digital world did really well. And I think it was literally one day he had been talking to the WWE because he had some artists do stuff with them. And one morning he sent us a message at 7:30 in the morning and was like, hey, we've got an option to have the theme song for this Super Showdown for WWE, the biggest event in like a decade in Australia. We need an answer by 9 o'clock. And so this is 7:30, and I think a few of us were maybe awake. I probably wasn't even awake, but I think we had, an hour and a half to be like, say yes or no. Like, we didn't really have much time to think about it. Everyone was obviously like, yeah, we'll do it. But unfortunately, we weren't actually in Australia for the event, so none of us could go. But Dennis, our manager, did go. He had a great time.
We went to a different WWE event.
Yeah, so we were actually on tour in America at the time, and so we kind of had this. We had an off day. It was maybe a week after this had just happened. We had an off day, and we'd looked up. I don't even know how it came about, but we'd looked up stuff in that city on the day we had a day off. And we saw that the wrestling was on, and we were like, "Oh, well, we just got the theme song. We need to get free tickets." And so we hit up the guy at the label and was like, "We need free tickets. We need to go see it." And then we turned up, and we were like, "This is sick. We're at the wrestling." And then I think we got halfway through, me and Kips left, and we were like, "It's cool, but it's actually not cool, to be honest. Like, it's actually pretty fucking lame." But, we were still, we got in it, but. But we got free tickets to the wrestling, and we had a good time. Yeah. Didn't get mustard spilled on my shirt, which is good.
Yeah. Do you like the wrestling, Nick?
No,
it's okay.
No idea why it's so popular. It's one of those sort of things.
Yeah.
For me,
lots of things like that.
Yeah, I think we didn't actually. Like when we got the offer, everyone was excited, but we were like, "Yeah, that's pretty 10 years ago."
Yeah, I was excited about the numbers and the emails.
But then, we looked it up and we were like, "Wow, this is actually, I think,
huge.
still the second biggest YouTube channel or something ever." And we were like, "Wow, that's a lot of people still watch that." But I guess 10 years ago when we were young and we were like, "Oh, there's cool wrestling and cool story," that's people that are younger than us are going up and doing the same thing, I guess. So
if you're listening and you watch your wrestling, you're still cool.
Wrestling's cool as
we love it.
Go the Undertaker. Wrestling jerseys are coming next.
Oh, that's what we need, a leotard.
Yeah, leotard for sure. Good idea.
They will sell very well for sure.
Yeah. and has that sort of shift from the record labels to the online and the Spotify, have you guys enjoyed that process and kind of moving into that space more with the...
Well, I guess it hasn't I think it's been nice that we've been able to be in a space where we just have more eyes on us now, and I think it's getting more, starting to have some of the wrestling fans come to our shows and put their rock-ons up and bring their daughters along, and it wasn't something that we ever intended to be going into that space, but I think for us at this stage it's any opportunity for us to expose our music to more people is of course that's what we're going to do. And I think it's hard to, some people can sit there and be like, "Oh, that's selling out and that's doing this," but I think
say no to some things, though. We don't do it all now.
Yeah, no, look, that's true. We say no to a couple of things.
Not all. We didn't do Australia Day this year. That was a recent thing. But I mean, that came out of it being strange. It's such a complex thing now to celebrate that. And none of us are really on board with that. But also being like, "Oh, here's one show with 4 months off. Get together, practice." Trent lives 4 hours away. It's hard to come together for one show now.
Yeah, it becomes, I guess it is very different now to us just being on tour all the time in America, and we'll just do the tours. But I think being in Australia now, it is a bit harder to make just one show work if we're all in a different place, or if it doesn't quite line up with what we want to do. But if it's a wrestling or NRL, then we'll probably try and make it work because it's just a bit of fun.
The games now,
the gaming world, I think, is a nice one. That would,
the next endeavour.
And is there anything on the cards for that?
Back in the very deep background of things,
as in esports.
Those sort of things. That's where we're trying to get into.
Really?
We're chipping away.
By trying, I mean we ask someone to write an email. That's not cool, trying, but
so the in-game.
Because that's just blown up so massively in the last few years, and it's kind of cool to write. It's almost writing a song for a movie is sick, would be sick. But I guess a video game has its own little edge to just being a unique creative challenge to be write a sick, dark, vibey song for a game. You can abandon all the rules for a radio hit that you need to use because you sort of your perspectives on a vibe and a game.
Yeah.
It's just cool to sort of think about and work on.
Yeah. So are you working on that?
In the back of our minds,
it's slowly in the background, and look, I think
that's an awesome idea.
I think one thing that did work kind of, or maybe did open our minds a little bit in that kind of space of, we kind of got this AFL and NRL and WWE theme songs. We kind of realized like that kind of high energy rock for sports and entertainment. Like we think we kind of had a sound that had just naturally worked for that. So we were like, well, I think it makes sense. And I know that we have, I don't actually know if it's announced, but we do have an event coming up kind of mid this year that's like a, you know, motocross and X Games and, you know, going into some of those types of worlds. Like I think it kind of just suits a lot of the music that we have, that kind of high energy rock suits, it just works well. So I think if we're still in that space, it's fun for us too.
That's awesome. On that sort of high energy rock, did you feel, on a tangent, did you feel at all that type of music didn't fit in to the Australian scene when you were making it back in the original days?
I just don't think it had the numbers. Like there was definitely like small pockets of that sort of scene, but it just didn't have
which
the
you
volume
mentioned
of
before,
people.
like the numbers over there were just another level.
Yeah. There was, you know, their fringe networks or like the niche pockets of music over there, just because they have so much, just so many more people, man. It's just, it can sustain itself much more easily than we do here.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe part of where our kind of transition went, and I don't think that it was necessarily a deliberate thing, but the first album we made was in this very kind of niche genre of music that, like Coop said, there was enough people in America that could be its own scene and that could exist, but if you translate that back to Australia, there just wasn't enough people that knew about that kind of scene or that supported it, so it was a bit harder for us. And I guess
you could fill up the youthy venues around Australia.
Like the people were around, because there is I think even now still a lot of influence from American music into Australia, but I think it's kind of been a bit of a journey where now we've kind of maybe broadened the spectrum of what that niche is for us, I think, from where it was on the first album. I don't know, what do you reckon, Coops?
Nah, I agree. I mean, can you let me know if I feel like I keep moving in and out of this microphone and
No, you're good.
I'm not trained in this.
It's sounding very natural.
Okay.
Very natural. I wanted to ask you about the Like a Virgin you recently did, but first, the Torn cover. How did that come?
Still a hit.
That's such a banger.
This
That's such a hit.
That was
This is going back quite a while, because this Torn thing, I guess, started from like another similar idea to what we were talking about with the Warp Tour, of this thing called Punk Goes Pop or Punk Goes 90s or Punk Goes Acoustic or whatever. There was this record label, Fearless Records, who always did these compilations. So they would ask all these bands, hey, can you cover this song, this song, this song? And they would help kind of cover it. And we got the opportunity, and I'm not actually even sure how we landed on Torn, but we got the opportunity to go record this song. And at the, before this last EP we did, it was one of the only songs that we'd recorded in Australia since we kind of signed a record deal. So we were fortunate enough to go back to that
same studio, different guy, but same studio as the song Safety Clip.
Yeah, same studio as we had gone to in our kind of previous band. But it's funny thinking back, like I know we put a bit of time into trying to get this song right, but I think something naturally just happened in the writing of that song that just went well, and like we didn't try to do too much to the cover, we didn't change it too much, but I think even still to this day, it's probably one of our top 5 most streamed songs all the time. Like it continually gets a lot of streams, and it's one of those harder things that, like, because we signed a deal where a record label paid for it, we didn't really own anything for that song, even though it was a cover. So it ended up being a really high streaming song for us, but it was kind of just this like kind of novelty thing that we ended up having that didn't really, obviously apart from recognition, and I think that's obviously the best gain we got from it, but they benefited a lot more.
Every show asking us to play it.
Yeah.
Which we don't.
It's carried along, and we held on to it for a little while, and we took it out of the set for a long time, and then we brought it back a bit.
We played it for the Triple M. Right? Did we?
I don't think so.
We almost did. We practiced it. I practiced it.
I don't think we did. We played what did we play? Foo Fighters?
No, we did Torn.
Did we?
100% did Torn. Yeah, we did Foo Fighters and...
Oh, we did?
Yeah, we did. I remember.
Eat my words.
Yeah, eat 'em up. Yeah. We
it's still
revisit
kicking.
it every
It's
now,
still kicking.
Yeah, like once a year.
What was the
maybe.
year it was released? Do you have it on the screen there?
I just closed it.
Yeah, it's all good. It was I'm going to say 2014.
I'll say 14.
Ooh, we both guessed 14. I hope that's
Let's
right.
fact check that.
Can we get a background fact check, please, Nick?
YouTube was, April 2014 uploaded.
Nice.
Take that.
That's good. I'm not
Good,
good
man.
at remembering, so that's great.
Yeah,
And
that's
the more recent one.
the more recent one, Shimmer. This has also been a fun one, and I don't know if it's because, like, maybe since we've done this song, that maybe we just had a bit more, like, coverage with it or like publication with it. But I've got a message from a few kind of like friends that have never really liked the band, or some older friends, and been like, "This is one of my favorite songs, and this is so cool." And it's been really, did it last, I'm going to say 2017, I think, or around 2017, 2018, and we were on, I think, a 2-month tour, and previously to that we'd just recorded for 2 months in the studio, and then we'd come off another tour. So I think we'd had 6 or 7 months straight, and then relatively last minute they were like, "All right, you can do a Leica version." And so we'd flown in, we're in Australia for 1 day. We tried to practice the song, and then we went into the studio, and Trenton was really sick, and he had to kind of read out some lyrics that he'd printed out, because we were like, we don't really like, we just didn't, it was silly because we weren't rehearsed enough, but we were trying to make up for it this time. So I'm glad people have been enjoying it.
A lot of people have not been enjoying
Yeah,
it.
look,
too.
everyone always hates it too. We've had
That's
Fuck
the,
that,
haters,
yeah.
that's the problem with the social media.
Yeah.
It has that benefit too, but
Yeah.
the negatives always come out.
Yeah.
Shimmer was good though. I liked Shimmer. Again,
Yeah.
a lot of people hated it.
I think
too,
it was
though,
just
but
a nice
I was
song
sick.
for us to
Yeah,
do.
sick
It was a
work,
cool
yeah.
song, and I think Trenton sounded good in the song, and a lot of people that knew the song were like, cool. I think the people that didn't know the song were like, you guys suck.
That's
So
fine.
shout out to all you haters.
And so, what's next, guys? What's the tour's half kicking on?
Yes.
Rescheduling.
We're half on at the moment. So we had about 9 or 10 shows booked for January. I think now we're doing 2. These things keep happening. We keep cancelling everything. We got 2 shows in Canberra at the end of the month, and then if nothing changes, and then a couple of shows in Melbourne, and the shows that we'd had to reschedule have been pushed to April. So at this stage, I mean, look, it's probably a good time to think. We actually don't really know what we're going to do next, because we haven't really got to that. We kind of had this busy back end of the year where no one was around much, and people are off kind of doing their own thing. So we haven't really got to that point where we know what we're going to do, because usually it's like we have a 18-month plan, and we know we're going to do this tour overseas, and we're going to record a record, and we're going to do this. But I think given the nature of last year, it was just so much uncertainty that we kind of have just been sitting around being like, we might play some shows, but I mean,
Is that kind of refreshing? Being able to
Yeah.
have that break?
Yeah.
It has been very, very refreshing. With normal people for the first time in 10 years. It feels great.
Yeah, I think when we played, what was it, when we did the live in your lounge stream, I think it was the longest that we'd gone in our whole touring career, our whole career as a band, without playing a show. So
Which is like 10 years.
yeah, we're looking at nearly 10 years, and that was the biggest break that we'd ever had. But this is the biggest break we've ever had in that 10 years. So it's been nice to be able to just kind of not put it on the back burner, but kind of just unwind a little bit from that, and kind of just get a bit more stable in kind of home life and partner's life and whatever everyone else is doing kind of within their time. So what's next is hopefully get through some shows and hopefully play these shows, and then probably record music, I presume. Yeah, there's a couple of decisions that we probably need to make as a band of what everyone wants to do next and how it all goes.
We're an independent band very soon.
In about June or July,
Yeah.
I believe that we're kind of off a bunch of contracts and labels, so it gets to a point where we're either renegotiating what we do or have a bit more freedom in kind of what we do next, which I think is kind of part of, it's going to hold a lot of that weight of what we decide of where we go. And I think there's probably a lot of different ways we can go as a band, but 5 different people who want 5 different things, we'll kind of see where that lands us.
Free agents again.
Yeah.
It's
Jingles.
exciting, mate.
Loop background in jingles.
Yeah, I still want to hear that jingle you mentioned. Try and get that up. But guys, thank you for joining us. It's been awesome having you in here, and I'm sure we'll get you in again one day.
No worries. Thank you very much for having us.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for the beers.
No
Good
problem.
time at the Mustard Flats.